This is Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing. You are watching Sporting Icons. You don't need to be anywhere else.
Right, so the WBA president, Gilberto Mendoza Jr., he put out a press conference. Okay, he did a press conference online. He put it into like 3 different parts. And in one of the things that he was talking about how the WBA are committed, or worse to that effect at least, he was using, that they are committed to creating one belt for each weight division. There are currently 17 weight divisions, so that'd be 17 belts. At the minute, the WBA have 43. Now, yesterday, I did a video on this, so go check it out. It'll pop up at the end of this one anyway if you haven't seen it already. They have now removed the interim titles. So people like Chris Eubank Jr., people like Daniel Dubois are no longer WBA interim champions. Okay, so they've reduced them. How many there are across the 17 weight classes? No idea. 3, 4 maybe? Who knows? In addition to that, he was speaking about the gold champions. Now, I'm not exactly sure how many gold champions they've got, to be honest with you. I know Robert Helenius at heavyweight and Michel Soro, which I believe is the super welterweight or maybe even middleweight now, actually. Not too sure. He's got like 30 wins and 2 defeats, something like that. He's a gold champion. But they're not removing the belt from, say, Robert Helenius and that. They're actually removing their title, if you like, as a champion. Pretty weird, right? Because at the minute, again, we can look at the heavyweight division. You've got Anthony Joshua, WBA super champion, the regular champion, Trevor Bryan, champion in recess, if you like, in Manuel Charr, and you've got Robert Helenius as the WBA gold champion. They're going to remove him from that block and insert him into the top 15 of the rankings, and that'll be happening from next month, so in about a week or so. Now, for me, when it comes to the gold, before we get into the single title situation, all they're doing is removing the problem, or moving the problem, I should say, not removing it. They are moving the problem from putting say, Robert Helenius from one block into the other block. The title's still there, so they're not actually reducing the gold title. Why? Is it because he's a PBC fighter? Probably. We all know the bias with the WBA and the PBC. Go check out the rankings, tell me I'm lying. Go check out the champions, tell me I'm lying. Okay? Now, just by moving the problem isn't solving the problem. Now, Robert Helenius, he's going to be ranked below Daniel Dubois. Daniel Dubois, of course, he's now lost his interim belt, but Robert Helenius will keep his gold belt but be ranked below Daniel Dubois. What are they going to do going forward? Maybe create some kind of tournament to create a mandatory or whatever it may be, maybe involving Daniel Dubois, maybe involving Robert Helenius currently, but of course he's got that rematch with Adam Kaunaki on October the 9th, whenever it is, and maybe involve Trevor Bryan, Manuel Charr. I don't know, maybe do that tournament, because if you guys cast your minds back to a few years ago, they were talking about consolidating the regular belt and the super belt, and what they were going to do was let the super champion go do whatever it is that he's doing, but with a regular belt, create a tournament for it. Whoever wins that one will then fight the super champion, consolidate the belts. That's what their plan was, okay? Didn't quite work out that way. The tournament was, off the top of my head here, of course, as always, was that Lucas Browne, he won the WBA regular world heavyweight title after he knocked out Ruslan Chagayev. Then Lucas Browne, he failed a PED test, had the belt stripped off of him. Then they put it vacant in the air to create the tournament. Then they brought back Lucas Browne into the equation and was going to have him part of the tournament along with Shannon Briggs. Shannon Briggs also failed a PED test. Then they brought in Manuel Charr. Then they brought in Fraser Quendo, Alexander Ustinov, and there was another one. I think it was actually Big Baby Jaron Miller, if I remember rightly. So they're going to do some kind of tournament where the winners or the winner will become the WBA regular world heavyweight champion. Then that champion will then go fight that at that point Anthony Joshua, consolidate the belt. That was the plan. Didn't quite work out because, as I said, Lucas Browne failed a test, Shannon Briggs failed a test. Eventually, Manuel Charr got the belt without really doing any kind of tournament because he only really fought Ustinov. But he then became WBA regular champion. Then he failed a PED test as well. I mean, talk about a hot potato. Talk about that belt being cursed, right? He failed a PED test. Quite what happened with that test, I have absolutely no idea. I believe that he went and got an independent test and he passed, and that was satisfactory for the WBA. I believe that's what happened. The whole situation was in a complete chaos. But this is the WBA. Nothing ever seems to make sense, much like the WBC. Nothing really tends to make sense. But moving on to the single belt scenario. Do I believe it? Nope. Why don't I believe it? Because I've just told you about that tournament. Because I've told you about many different things with the WBA. I don't believe a word that they say. As I said, they're not reducing the belt. They could just remove the gold belt, couldn't they? Okay, it's only going to remove it by 2 belts, maybe. Maybe there's another one out there somewhere, I don't know, with the gold. Hellenius and whoever else. But they're just moving the problem. They're not solving the problem, they're moving it. So to tell us 1 belt in each weight class, absolute nonsense. It's never going to happen. Honestly, I don't believe it's going to happen. They're in damage control now, though. They want to be seen that they're doing something because they're worried about the Associate Boxing Committee, the ABC, who threatened to kick them out of the United States of America as they sorted out their act. Because their bias when it comes to their ranking system is off the chart. It's either plain incompetence or brutal on the take. That's the only way I can really put it. Because it can't just be incompetence, can it? There has to be some kind of corruption in there. Why else would you have Bogdan Dinu, of all people, ranked number 1? Why would you, what it looks like with Manuel Char, strip Manuel Char, which looks like it was some kind of sabotage, make that belt vacant for Trevor Bryan to fight Bermain Stavern, of all bloody people, for it? Why Don King fighters? Seems like they're corrupt. PBC fighters, look at the rankings. Tell me I'm lying. PBC champions, most of them WBA versions. Tell me I'm lying. Now for me, 1 belt for the WBA, 17 weight classes, would that be ideal? Of course it would be ideal. But is it feasible? No, probably not, because how can they sustain their living? How can they sustain their business with it? Because you have to remember, a sanctioning body gets there or thereabouts 3%. That's what they get, 3% of the champion, regardless of whether it's a full champion or a version of an international, whatever it may be. They get 3%. That's not much. For example, you've got, again, in the heavyweight division, you've got Anthony Joshua. He's the WBA super champion. He's going to be fighting Alexander Usyk on September 25th. Joshua will probably get, what, about 50 million? I'm sure I wouldn't be far off that one. 50 million pounds, 3% of that, 1.5 million. That's pretty decent change, isn't it? Alexander Usyk, he'd probably get about 10 million, yeah? Again, 3%. So combined, for Joshua and Usyk, they'll probably get in the region of about 2 million. So will the WBO, so will the IBF. How much the IBO gets, I don't know. But that's roughly what it is, about 3%. So that's fine if they had 17 Anthony Joshuas or 17 Canelo Alvarez's. Then, of course, they're always going to be making some decent money. But when you say, for example, you've got, in the heavyweight division, no disrespect, Zan Kosabuski, WBA international champion, I believe. He gives 3%. How much do you really think that WBA are making off him? How much do you think? 30 grand, maybe? Maybe? 3 grand, maybe? It's not a good business model, is it? So Zan Kosabuski becomes WBA heavyweight world champion, they're not going to get too much commission. So the knock-on effect of this one is that WBA are going to go forward, if they do stick to literally trying to get 1 champion or 1 belt in each weight class, they're going to maneuver their rankings and their mandatories based on who sells the most tickets, who sells pay-per-views, who's a big name draw. That's how it's going to be. It's not going to be based on merit. Not that it really is now anyway, because it is based on the sanction fees as to who pays for their ranking and who petitions for it. That seems to be the way, which is absolutely ridiculous. But that's how it's going to be. They're not going to have Zan Kosabuski up there. They're not going to have Manuel Char up there. Not that he should really be there anyway. But the point is that they're only really going to have their mandatories who generate some good money. Because it's based on sanctioning fee. It's based on the commission, isn't it? If you're getting 3% of a fighter's purse, you want that fighter's purse to be pretty good, don't you? 3% of an Anthony Joshua 50 million is far better than a 3%, currently ranked number 10, Mark Demori. How much is Mark Demori going to make per fight? 30 grand maybe? So what's WBA going to get? 3 grand? If you're the WBA, what do you want? Mark Demore the champion or Anthony Joshua the champion? 3%, right? That's how it's going to be. I'm telling you right now, that's how it's going to be. That's why they have so many belts, 43 belts currently in operation up and down the 17 weight classes. They're there for a reason. Money, get 3% off each of those belts, off each of the champions, plus the 3% off the opponent. Plus the sanctioning fees. It's not a good business model to have one belt, is it? That's why I don't believe a damn word of it. They don't believe a word of it. But at the end of the day, they did it to themselves. They went overkill. They created too many belts. The WBC will be next, I'm telling you. With their franchise crap, with their WBC full champion, with their WBC interim champion, with their WBC international champion. They've even got a European champion and a silver champion and Lord knows what. They're going to be next, I'm telling you. They are going to be next. The WBO, they have their super champion as well. They also have a WBO regular champion of sorts. They don't call it regular champion, it's just called WBO world champion. But they do have a super champion who apparently is exempt from mandatories. Didn't quite work out with Joshua. Super champion, but yeah, he's still got one. Alexander Usyk, right? But they have WBO European titles. Look at Anthony Yarde, look at Frank Warren fighters. Most of them are WBO European champions. What is that about? They're all going to be taking a hit soon. I'm telling you. Anyway, so WBA president Gilberto Mendoza says 1 belt in each weight class. I'll believe that when I grow a third nut. Drop your thoughts below. Click thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you on the next video.